Okay, the four types of government we are going to focus on today. We've got, first up is going to be monarchy. And the monarchy is led by a king or queen who is selected to rule for life, and their position is determined by birth placement. So usually the firstborn, especially males, are kings. This was very popular in Western Europe, think medieval England or France. And today we don't have very many of them left. In fact, most of them are constitutional monarchies, which means the king and queen are really just kind of figurehead, meaning they don't do anything, they just make people feel good about themselves. And so those are that's first government. The second one we have is democracy, and that is, it means people's government, which is quite literally led by the people. The people elect their leaders. The citizens, who are the people who have voting rights, are the ones who have most or all the say in their government's actions, or at least can participate in that process, whether or not you're a representative democracy. So the democracy is probably the most stable because it also looks out for most people's rights, and that's a very big deal, especially when we start looking at the next type of government. The next type of government that you're going to get into is going to be the dictatorship, and the dictatorship is going to be more authoritarian, or another name is totalitarian, which means every aspect of the people's lives are going to be controlled by the government. And this can mean things like you don't have a freedom of religion, but it also adds in other aspects, such as the economy is completely controlled by the government, and really the big aspect of this is your individual rights as a person. So you don't have things like the right to free speech, or the right to peacefully assemble, or even the right to vote for multiple parties, free and open elections. The dictatorship can be a junta or an individual, and usually they rule for a long time, and they're very violent. Finally, the last one is a theocracy. And a theocracy means religious government. We see a lot of these today in the Middle East, and they are led by religious leaders, and their belief is that God grants them the power because they are all-knowing, and these governments control every aspect of the people's lives, and it's rotating around their government. And again, you'll see a very sharp infringement on what we would consider individual rights, specifically women's rights. And so that's where we stand with our four types of governments: theocracy, democracy, dictatorship, and monarchy.